neck for 8 minutes. I think
Right.
there's other ways of reprimanding a person.
Absolutely.
And, going back to defund the police, yeah, I feel like the police definitely get the most support from our communities. They get the most money. Meanwhile, our schools don't even have books to read. So I definitely think that we could, I'm not saying take away all the money from the police so they have nothing. I'm just saying, can we allocate some of those funds to other things? My mom is a public school teacher. Like, I see her buying supplies out of her own pocket. Could we allocate those funds to schools maybe? Or another thing I would like to see is, I've seen some petitions going around about police training. Now, obviously, we've tried the body cams. The body cams didn't work. They could turn them off. They could turn it to the side, whatever. How else can we infiltrate the police and help them look at suspects as people? And that's one of the things I'm still trying to figure out on my own. I don't know what's going to work, but I have seen some petitions where people are saying, if a police officer wants to be an officer in a neighborhood where they are a minority, so let's say a white police officer in a predominantly Black city like Atlanta or Camden, New Jersey, they should have to volunteer or get to know the community that they're serving in.
They should.
Because the problem is, you're serving a community you don't even live in. You don't even know these people. That's a lot of the cops today.
That's one of the bigger issues. The police officer job itself is such a powerful position, and the amount of like the training that they have to go through is I have never been through it, but from what I understand, it's not nearly, it's pretty evident that it's not really enough. And people that are going through it are like how does this person even get through? Like, the fact that the person that even thought like this is like, was a cop, is just like how did that even, just imagine like a teacher with that kind of role, with even that kind of mindset. You know what I mean? Like, the barrier of entry needs to be higher. And I don't know, especially after this, I don't know who's gonna want to be a cop after this. Like, so that whole field of like police officers for this whole, like, if I'm a kid now, if you're like 6 right now, it's not what you're gonna be when you grow up, you definitely don't want to be a cop. Like, it's like, apparently
and
not.
Some people say the best way for us to get over this hump is, let's have more Black police officers. Well, there's some Black police officers who are standing by and not speaking up and are letting this happen. So as they say, not all skin folk are kinfolk. Like, I feel like police officers really put that blue over their Blackness. Like, I feel bad for the police officers who do want to speak up, but they feel like their life is in jeopardy. They feel like their job and their family are in jeopardy. Because I know that police officers, and I'm not trying to bash police officers on your podcast, there are plenty of great cops out there. And that's one of the counter protests. People always say, oh, not all cops, Blue Lives Matter, whatever. I'm just saying, like, there are police precincts who are kind of like gangs. Like, if you turn against your own kind, there will be consequences. So I can't imagine what that's like either.
I can't. And I think so. And that's one of the biggest things about this movement is that like we're on the same page of trying to better Black folks, but depending on who's, like, the nation as a whole is going through this together, and there's tons of little nuanced stories that might defend one point more than the other. Like, overall, Black people have been injustice between, this our own spectrum, the own list of things that we can go over in a whole nother podcast about. But each person has their own little story as well. Each group, each state, that like they're only seeing the enemy that they want to see. So if you had a police officer, let's say you're a kid and your dad was a cop and your dad got killed fighting crime, no matter what happens, you're always going to be Blue Lives Matter, because that, like, you lost your dad to crime violence, whether the guy was white, Black, or white. Like, like that is your stance on it. Like, bad guys took away my dad. I have to, like, they're bad guys out there. Now, just with the little things like that, I want to make sure that people are just, aware of just, you may be fighting someone, like, you may, like, that whole realm of reality thing I was talking about. When you're interacting with someone and like trying to tell them like it's not your job to educate them. I'm not going to ever say that, but I just want to know what you don't like. What are you opposing? Because someone might be opposing something because, oh, George Floyd was a criminal. Like that's something. All right, that's one issue where I'm like, okay, like he didn't deserve to die. Like that
Yeah.
we can fight in the same realm there, and I'm gonna win. Now, if your issue is that, I don't know, something happened to you, and I don't have the exact example to give you, but like people just don't know the same things that you know. And the thing that I'm worried about now is that the movement is so powerful, but I don't want the power to get abusive, if that makes sense.
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
So I just don't like, I've seen a lot of people like, so if you say anything against the movement that like doesn't make, you have to be so I'm all about people having like objective opinions and debating about it. That's what I want to happen. Okay. And I just don't want people that if they have their own, if it's a logical opinion, it's someone who's not racist and just says, okay, so they're like, I don't like defund the police. I'm supportive of innocent Black people not being killed, but defunding the police, I don't like because blank, blank, blank.
Okay.
That, I feel like that's a valuable argument. You're allowed to talk. You're allowed to have a defense against that point. But what I'm afraid of is let's say someone says that, I don't know, on Facebook, if they get caught saying that in the wrong context, they're automatically canceled. They're getting fired from their job. Like everything ends for that person's life. Now, I just don't want the people that are just having opposing opinions that are sound people being bunched in with the racists that are being canceled, you know? Because that line, I don't want that line getting too hectic, you know? Because the problem is when people that are not racist, that just like have a different opinion, get outed, they become actual racists, you know? And I don't want to turn the 3s and 4s into 1s or -1, you know, because then like we're fighting more for a bigger step forward, but then we're creating a whole bunch of enemies that are going to stay in the shadows now because they can't talk. And that is like the scary dark side to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Basically, you don't want white people to be so scared to speak that they just revert back to racist ideals. And to that, I would say, I just feel like people shouldn't speak at all unless they have done their research and they know what they're talking about.
Yes,
and that goes for everybody, because I see a lot of people